Yo, what is going on YouTube? I am Germ here. Today, I wanted to talk a little bit about Svenskeren. It has been a very, very interesting season for him and Evil Geniuses. We know throughout the summer split, they kind of had a six-man rotation going on. They went a little bit back and forth with Svenskeren some games, with Contracts both games. They really ended up looking pretty solid with both players. You know, Svenskeren has been decent this season. He hasn't been amazing. He hasn't been like old MVP type Svenskeren or anything like that, but he hasn't been terrible. He's just been solid. He's been good. He's been consistent, and he's been good enough for Evil Geniuses to rack up a bunch of wins in the summer. But then again, Contracts has also been like lightning in a bottle in the small sample size of games we've been able to see him play. He's been so good. So things are very, very interesting for Evil Geniuses, you know, with this six-man roster or whatever going on headed into the playoffs. And obviously they've played one series against Dignitas now. So I want to talk a little bit about what I think is in store for Svenskeren the rest of the playoffs, the rest of the season, and into the future as well, which I think should be a pretty interesting conversation. So definitely drop a like if you guys do enjoy this video. I would appreciate it so much. Subscribe to stay up to date on all my latest content, and consider checking out my Patreon, patreon.com/IamGerm. I think the first podcast episode will be recorded today. It'll be live streamed on YouTube, and the VODs will be on Patreon if that's something you guys are interested in checking out, some longer form content from me. But with that being said, here we go. Svenskeren, he had this tweet after the series with Dignitas. He tweeted out, "The boys are smurfing. Let's go. GG Dig." But obviously, he's talking about the boys are smurfing because the crazy part here is that he obviously did not play a single game in the series against Dignitas. Contracts played in all 4 games, and honestly, he looked pretty damn good. I mean, in game 1, here you see a 5-2-6 Lee Sin game from him. In game 2, you have a 6-3-6 Viego game from him, obviously in a game that they lost, but still, he did very well, you know, with his team really not doing well anywhere around him. He had a pretty solid game. In game 3, he goes 2-1-4 on Lee Sin once again. And then in game 4, he goes 6-3-8 on Diana, which has been one of his best picks throughout the whole season. So I thought this was very, very interesting. In 4 games, he played 3 different champs. He's showing he can play most of the meta champions right now. Also, jungle is very carry-focused, carry-oriented right now in this meta, which definitely seems to fit in a Contracts playstyle well. I think Svenskeren can really play everything, but I would assume Svenskeren is probably a little bit better at the facilitative tank-style junglers than Contracts, and it seems like Contracts is definitely a little bit better at these more aggressive, carry-oriented, crazy picks, at least at this point in both of their careers. And it's working out really, really well for Evil Geniuses. Again, they went 3-1. They beat Dignitas. Dignitas is actually a team that Evil Geniuses, I think, struggled against throughout the season. I want to say that Peter Dunn said they were like 3-5 against Dignitas throughout the season. I didn't go back and look, but it's something like that. They actually dropped some games to Dignitas throughout the regular season. So this was a series that kind of a trap game for them. Yeah, it seems like they're way better. They had the best record in summer. They're supposed to easily slide past Dignitas, but sometimes those can be the scary series. Sometimes those can be the ones where, you know, you kind of relax a little bit. You forget what's going on. You got to remember you have Contracts, who's inexperienced. You have Danny, who's a rookie in the playoffs. I mean, these things are tough. So it was good that they at least got the job done. And again, I thought Contracts looked very, very good. And if you look at the regular season, this is kind of how things went as well. Contracts, he only played 4 games in the regular season in the summer, and Svenskeren played 23. Now, obviously, in those games, Svenskeren had the 3rd highest win rate of junglers that played on a consistent basis. The only junglers who won more or had a better win percentage than Svenskeren with Evil Geniuses was Closer with 100 Thieves and Spica with TSM. But then you see Contracts at the top, who went 4-0. He did not lose a game with Evil Geniuses, and man, are his stat lines crazy, and he passes the eye test as well. I mean, in terms of KDA in his 4 games, you know, he had a 6.6, which was the highest. Again, on a small sample size, take everything with a grain of salt, but you see Svenskeren was down here at the bottom. Svenskeren is hanging out with Broxa, Armeo, Iconic, and Jose Diodo in terms of KDA. Kill participation, he's actually dead last. You know, just a lot of rough things. He actually has really, really good early game stats. As far as gold differential at 10, you know, he's 3rd highest in the league. XP differential, he's 4th highest. CSD, he's kind of middle of the pack. But his early game stats are good, but his later game, you know, he's just not being as effective. He's not being as efficient. He's not really turning those early game leads into as much for himself. He is getting a ton of assists. You know, he is helping out the team, definitely. He is playing more facilitative. But, again, I think jungle right now, there is some people playing more facilitative. Like, we saw Santorin pull out, like, Sejuani and stuff like that against against Cloud9. But we do see a ton of Viego, a ton of, Blabber's pulling out Olaf and Xin Zhao. We see a ton of Diana. There are these big carries. And it seems like Svenskeren is not doing as well on those champions, at least to me right now. In terms of damage per minute, he's kind of like towards the bottom. When you have contracts up here, yeah, 517 isn't really sustainable, most likely. That is because he only played 4 games, but he's been popping off. In all the opportunities, he has done very well. So, he played in all the games. Some people are saying that Svenskeren's going to come back and play against 100 Thieves now. I personally don't think so. I don't get why Evil Geniuses would just randomly swap their junglers back and forth. I think right now Contracts has proven he's playing well. I think, he played well in the playoffs against Dignitas. I think he will be starting against 100 Thieves again. I think Evil Geniuses wants to play their best player. There were some comments, like on this Svenskeren tweet, that this guy said, I think he's going to play against 100 Thieves. EG chose Contracts to play versus Dignitas just because they were confident to win. People are saying that, like, oh, they wanted to get Contracts some playoff experience, blah, 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 blah. I think it's kind of a weird take. Peter Dunn actually commented about that as well. He said, do I seem like the type of coach to disrespect Dignitas by subbing in Contracts for playoff experience? Yes, actually won the vote. I think most people were just kind of trolling. I said no because obviously I don't think that makes sense. This is a playoff series. He is a coach. His job is on the line. His team's season is on the line. And again, you start your best players in the playoffs. You start the team that you think is going to win. Yes, we have seen 6-man rotations before, but it's because you want to have an extra guy there. Like, if Evil Geniuses went down 0-2 in this series, or they were 1-1, but Contracts look terrible or something, yeah, it's good to have Svenskeren there because players have bad days, players have off days, players have bad matchups, players sometimes can't fit in that champion pool or whatever. But since playoffs is all on the same patch, since one player is playing really well right now, I don't think like, oh, Contracts was better against Dignitas, but Svenskeren's going to be better against 100 Thieves. I don't think that makes a whole lot of sense to me. I really don't expect that to happen. I do expect Contracts to play once again against 100 Thieves. If he's looking bad, if things are going bad, they have Svenskeren there to sub in. But I don't think a 6-man roster where they're just kind of bringing the guys back and forth just to start here and there, kind of on a whim, I don't think that makes much sense. I don't really see that as being effective, and I don't really see why you would do that. Again, when we've seen 6-man rotations in the past, it's because they play different champions, or they play a different style, or, the meta changes, or a guy has an off day. Like I'm thinking Svenskeren played in a 7-man rotation on Cloud9 when they had, like, Blabber and Jensen. They had Svenskeren and Golden Glue. They brought in Svenskeren and Golden Glue when they were down in series. When Jensen and Blabber weren't getting it done, they didn't just like say, oh, Svenskeren, you're starting today. Oh, we're playing 100 Thieves, you're in. Oh, we're playing TSM, now Blabber and Jensen are back in. I don't really see the logic in that there. I do kind of expect them to, go with Contracts, and then headed into the future, it does bring up the conversation of, are they going to move on from Svenskeren? Where is he going to go? If Contracts continues to play well throughout the playoffs, I don't expect them to keep both of them in the next season. I would expect them to then sell off Svenskeren. And as far as the LCS options, I don't really expect him to go on any of the top teams. He's not going to TSM. He's not going to 100 Thieves. He's, maybe Cloud9 or Team Liquid, but I don't think he's had a good enough year to really warrant going on one of the top teams. I could maybe see a Dignitas. I could see a Golden Guardians, a FlyQuest, a CLG, maybe somewhere in there. But, it's seeming like if Contracts is able to have a good rest of the playoffs and is able to keep up his current level of play, that he could be the Evil Geniuses jungler into the future, and Svenskeren, might be out of a job, and he might have to move on to one of these other teams, which are definitely not as good of positions to be as being in Evil Geniuses right now. But that's just kind of what I think. I don't know. I definitely drop a like if you guys do enjoy this video. I would love to hear your guys' thoughts and opinions as well. So let me know down below, what do you think is going to happen with Svenskeren the rest of the playoffs and into next season. Subscribe to stay up to date on all my latest content. Hopefully catch you guys in the next one. But until then, peace.